It was built to be the best, built to make history. And that's exactly what the Titanic did, but just not in a way anyone ever imagined. 100 years ago tomorrow, the greatest ship of its time hit an iceberg and sank. The Titanic set sail on April 10th from England. After stops in France and Ireland, the ship headed across the Atlantic. It was smooth sailing for 3 days on its way to New York. Then, on the night of April 14th, the Titanic hit that iceberg some 700 kilometers east of Halifax. Right now, another cruise ship, the Azamara Journey, is heading to that very site. If we look at its geographic coordinates, we can pinpoint where it is tonight. And on board is the CBC's David Common. So, David, lots of history coming into play tonight.
That's right, Wendy. And by midday tomorrow, we will be over top Titanic, a century exactly since 3 words would shake the world. Iceberg, straight ahead.
This is a cruise unlike any other. Disaster tourism based on a legendary event, sailing to the very spot few have visited 100 years after the sea swallowed Titanic.
That's the wreck site. We left Halifax yesterday, and then tonight.
The Azamara Journey left New York with 700 aboard, just blocks from the pier Titanic was supposed to arrive at. But of course, it never did. Yesterday, it docked in Halifax, where passengers got off and visited the cemeteries where so many Titanic victims are buried. There are 41 Canadians on board this anniversary cruise, paying thousands of dollars for the privilege. Victoria's Michael Dupuis is showing Canadian newspapers from 1912, which at first misreported that Titanic was only damaged, not lost.
This is the infamous Canadian liner towing the Titanic to Halifax, which of course never happened. Right.
Passengers in period dress dine as Titanic's own would have, offered meals right from the great ship's menu. Newfoundland's Don Soulsby points out Canada's history is shaped by great ships, ferrying newcomers.
Most Canadians, of course, have come across from Europe. Certainly my family did. My father came across on a White Star liner in the 30s. So I think everybody is touched somehow by the Titanic, and to have the opportunity to come to the place where it happened speaks volumes.
Jason Ikiadis, the journey's captain, is eager to reach the disaster site tomorrow.
What's going to be most touching is taking relatives of survivors and those who perished as well. So I think being able to take them on this very special journey is probably very important for us.
For me to be over the site, the actual site of what I consider his grave, it's like I can say hello and goodbye at the same time.
Although some survivors disagree, history has recorded Titanic's musicians as playing this hymn just as the ship went down. Some believe the musicians on Titanic never finished before the end came, and to mark this anniversary, amongst a special memorial on board, this band will complete the hymn on the very spot where lifeboats filled the waters, while Titanic and most of her crew and passengers were lost in the cold waters of the North Atlantic.
The exact ceremony tomorrow night will be tailored to the often unpredictable weather in the North Atlantic, but it is possible that the wreath could be thrown from exactly where I'm standing, Wendy.
So, David, you've been talking to people on board the ship. They're obviously emotional. What else can you tell us?
Indeed, there's already been a lot of emotion. You saw some of it in our story, and the prediction is there'll be a lot more tomorrow. Even the staid deck officers, those responsible for commanding the ship, for piloting it all the way out to the wreck site, say that as seafarers, as maritime enthusiasts, they may themselves become quite emotional over top a site that has come to symbolize so much, and particularly so because we have descendants of those who died and those who survived on board this ship. Oh, and in case you're wondering, there are no icebergs believed to be in our path.
Good thing. Thanks, David. David Common.